The night was darker than usual, not because the sky had no stars but because Ayesha's life lost its light that night. Rain fell quietly, as if even the clouds did not want to make noise while witnessing what was about to happen. Ayesha stood near the door of the house she once called home. In her arms was her 3-year-old son Ollie, asleep but shivering. Holding tightly to her dress was her 5-year-old daughter Sarah, her small fingers trembling with fear. Inside the house stood the man who was once her husband. "Get out," he said coldly. "No more drama. Take your children and leave." Ayesha's lips trembled. "Where will I go at this hour?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he picked up her old bag, threw it outside, and shut the door. The sound of that door closing echoed louder than thunder. Sarah started crying. "Ami, why is Abu angry?" Ayesha had no answer. She only hugged her children tighter and felt something inside her break, something that would never fully heal. That house was not just walls. It held her sacrifices, her sleepless nights, her dreams. And now, it had rejected her. Ayesha walked slowly through the empty street. Rain soaked her clothes. Her shoes were broken. Ollie woke up crying, hungry. Sarah kept asking questions Ayesha could not answer. She checked her phone. No balance. No one to call. Her parents had passed away years ago. Her brothers had cut ties after her marriage. She was alone with 2 innocent lives. Depending on her, they sat under a small bus stop shelter. Cold wind touched their wet skin. Ayesha removed her shawl and wrapped it around her children, choosing to freeze herself instead. A mother always does. That night, none of them slept. Cars passed by. People walked past without noticing. Ayesha stared at her children's faces and silently cried. "Ya Allah," she whispered, "don't let my children sleep hungry. Take my pain, but protect them." No one heard her prayer, but a mother's dua never disappears. Morning came, but hope did not. Ayesha washed her face at a public tap. She fixed Sarah's hair with shaking hands. She had no money, no food, no plan. Only courage born out of desperation. She knocked on doors asking for work. Some people shut the door. Some insulted her. "You're divorced. Where is your husband? Who will trust you?" Each question cut deeper. Still, she smiled because her children were watching. By evening, a woman finally agreed to let her clean dishes. Payment, leftover food. Ayesha accepted without hesitation. That night, Sarah and Ollie ate properly for the first time in 2 days. Ayesha did not eat. She watched them chew and felt full. That is the hunger only mothers know. That night, as her children slept on a thin mat borrowed from a neighbor, Ayesha looked at the sky. "I will not beg forever," she promised herself. "I will work, I will suffer, but my children will never feel abandoned again." She didn't know how long the road would be. She didn't know how cruel the world could be. But one thing was clear. A mother thrown out of her home can lose everything, except her strengths. The second morning arrived without mercy. Ayesha woke up before the sun, not because she wanted to, but because hunger does not let the poor sleep. Ollie was crying softly in her arms, his tiny stomach pressed against her chest, searching for warmth, for milk, for comfort. Sarah sat quietly beside them, hugging her knees. Children usually complain when they're hungry, but poverty teaches silence very early. Ayesha looked at their faces and felt her chest tightened up. Just 2 days ago, they had beds, they had toys, they had a home. Now, they had only each other. Ayesha washed their faces using water from a public tap. The cold made Ollie shiver. She wiped his face with the corner of her dupatta and forced a smile. "Ami will bring food," she said softly. Didn't know from where. She didn't know how, but a mother's words are often the only hope a child has. That day, Ayesha walked for hours. Door to door, street to street. Sarah's small feet started hurting. Ali grew heavy in her arms. Still, she walked. Because stopping meant accepting defeat. And a mother never accepts defeat when her children are hungry. At one house, a woman looked at Ayesha from head to toe. "Why don't you go back to your husband?" she asked coldly. Ayesha lowered her eyes. "He threw us out." The woman scoffed. "A woman is nothing without her husband." The door shut. Sarah heard everything. She looked up and asked, "Ami, are we nothing?" That question broke Ayesha more than any insult. She knelt down, held Sarah's face gently and whispered, "You are everything. You and your brother are my whole world." People didn't just see a poor woman. They saw a failed wife, a burden, a problem no one saw, a mother fighting silently, a woman carrying 2 lives on her shoulders, a heart breaking every second but still beating for her children. By afternoon, Ayesha finally found work at a small roadside eatery. The owner looked suspicious. "Can you wash dishes?" he asked. "Yes," she replied quickly. "What about the kids?" "They'll sit quietly." He hesitated, then nodded. "Only for today." That only for today meant food. Ayesha washed dishes non-stop. Grease burned her cracked hands. Hot water stung her skin. Still, she didn't stop. Sarah sat near the wall, holding Ali, singing softly to keep him calm. People passed by. Some stared. Some whispered, "Don't want help." At sunset, the owner handed Ayesha a small bag. "Leftovers," he said. Ayesha thanked him with tears in her eyes. She sat on the roadside and opened the Bag. Sarah clapped her hands. Ollie smiled. Smile made every pain worth it. Ayesha watched them eat. She didn't touch the food. Her hunger had become a habit. That night, they slept outside a closed shop. Ayesha stayed awake. Every sound made her heart race. Every shadow felt dangerous. She hugged her children tightly. I won't let anything happen to you, she whispered. Her eyes burned with exhaustion, but she didn't sleep, because when the world becomes unsafe, a mother becomes the guard. In the silence of the night, Sarah spoke softly. Ami, when Ebu comes back, will he take us home? Ayesha's breath stopped. How do you explain abandonment to a child? She swallowed her tears. He's busy, she said gently, but Ami is here. Sarah nodded slowly. Children believe what keeps them safe. Days passed like this, work, insults, hunger. Ayesha's body began to weaken. Her hands shook while washing dishes. Her head spun often, but every time she felt like collapsing. She looked at her children. And stood up again. One night when Sarah and Ollie were asleep, Ayesha finally broke. She pressed her face into her dupatta and cried silently. No loud sobs, no screams. Because mothers don't cry loudly, they cry carefully. She cried for the life she lost, the respect taken from her, the dreams buried alive then. She wiped her tears because morning was coming. Before sleeping, Ayesha whispered to herself, I will educate my children. They will never beg. They will never sleep hungry. She didn't know how, but faith often begins before the path appears. Hunger does not knock, it attacks. By the 5th day, Ayesha's body had started to give up, but her heart still refused to surrender. That morning, she couldn't stand properly. The world spun as she tried to lift Ollie into her arms. Sarah noticed. Ami, are you sick? She asked softly. Ayesha smiled, the kind of smile mothers use to hide pain. No, beta, just tired. But inside something felt terribly wrong. The roadside eatery was closed that day. Ayesha stood outside for a long time, hoping the owner might open it late. He didn't. Sarah tugged at her dupatta. Ali is hungry. That sentence stabbed her chest. A mother can survive insults. She can survive exhaustion, but she cannot survive hearing her child say that. Ayesha went to nearby houses. Some recognized her, some pretended not to. One woman finally opened the door. Please, Ayesha said quietly. My children haven't eaten since yesterday. The woman handed her to dry rot. No smile, no words. Ayesha thanked her like she had been given gold. Sarah broke the roti in half and gave the bigger piece to Ali. Ayesha watched tortural learn sacrifice from their mothers, even when they shouldn't have to. By afternoon, Ayesha felt weak, her vision blurred, her legs shook. She sat down under a tree, pulling her children close. Ollie cried. Ayesha tried to stand but couldn't. For the first time since being thrown out, fear entered her heart. What if I faint? What if something happens to me? Who would protect them? She held Ollie tighter and whispered, Ya Allah, not in front of my children, please. Not in front of them. It happened suddenly. One moment she was sitting, the next darkness. Sarah screamed. People gathered. Some stared, some whispered. A man sprinkled water on Ayesha's face. She opened her eyes slowly, confused. Her first words were not about herself. My children. Are they okay? A woman stepped forward. She had tired eyes but a gentle voice. I'm Fatima, she said. I saw everything. She helped Ayesha stand. You need food and rest. Ayesha shook her head. I need work. Fatima looked at her children. I need you to stay alive first. Fatima took them to her small home, one room, old walls, but it had something priceless. Safety. She gave the children warm food. Ali ate quietly. Sarah ate slowly, afraid it might disappear. Ayesha tried to refuse. I don't want to be a burden. Fatima replied gently. Helping a mother is never a burden. Those words made Ayesha cry openly this time. That night, Ayesha slept properly for the first time in days. No fear, no cold ground, no shadows. Just silence. When she woke up, she felt something unfamiliar. Strength. Morning brought shame. Ayesha hated depending on anyone. She cleaned Fatima's house again and again. I'll work, she insisted. Fatima nodded. I know. She gave Ayesha small stitching work to this while the kids rest. It wasn't much money, but it was earned. Sarah helped without being asked. She cleaned. She watched Ollie. She never complained. One night, Ayesha overheard her whispering to her brother, don't cry. If you cry, Ami gets sad. That sentence crushed her heart. Children should cry freely, not protect their mothers sometimes. At night, Ayesha remembered her husband, not with love, with questions. How could he throw his children out? How could he sleep peacefully? But she never spoke his name, because speaking it gave him power, and she was done giving him anything. After a week, Fatima spoke gently. You need something permanent. Ayesha knew she was right. She needed a real job, a real place, a future, even if it meant pain. That night, Ayesha looked at her children sleeping. She touched their hair and made a decision that would change everything. No matter how much I suffer, she whispered. My children will not grow up broken. She didn't know what tomorrow held, but she knew one thing. The world had already tested her, and she was still standing. The next morning, Ayesha left Fatima's house before sunrise. Before sunrise, she kissed Sarah's forehead, held Ali a little longer. "I'll come back before dark," she promised. Promises were dangerous now, but they were all she had. After hours of walking and asking, she finally found work at a garment factory on the edge of the city. The supervisor looked at her worn clothes, her tired eyes. "Long hours, low pay," he said. "I'll do it," Ayesha replied instantly. "No kids allowed." Her heart sank. "I have no one," she said quietly. He sighed, irritated. "Leave them with someone, or don't come." That was the world's offer. Take it or starve. Ayesha left her children with Fatima. Sarah tried to be brave. "Ami, I'll take care of Ali," she said. Ayesha nodded, but her chest felt heavy. A mother's worst fear is not hunger, it is being away from her children. The factory was loud. Machines screamed. Fans barely worked. The air was thick and heavy. Ayesha stitched non-stop. No breaks. No kindness. If her speed slowed, the supervisor shouted, "Faster." Her fingers bled. She wrapped them with cloth and continued because every stitch was food. Every hour was survival. During lunch, women whispered, "Where is your husband? Why do you work like this?" Some pitied her. Some judged her. One woman leaned closer and whispered, "Be careful. Men here are not kind to women without protection." That word echoed in Ayesha's head. Protection. As if dignity needed permission. One evening, the supervisor called her aside. "You work hard," he said slowly. "I can make things easier for you." His eyes said what his words didn't. Ayesha stepped back. "I only want my wages." His face hardened. "Don't act proud. Women like you don't get choices." That sentence crushed something inside her. She walked away without replying. That night, she cried silently in Fatima's kitchen. Not because of fear, but because the world kept reminding her of her place. 2 weeks later, disaster struck again. Sarah fell ill. High fever. Weak body. Ayesha held her close, panicking. The doctor demanded money. She didn't have enough. She sold her only pair of earrings, the last gift from her mother. As the shopkeeper weighed them, her hands trembled. That gold was memory, but memory could not cure a child. That night, Sarah slept restlessly. Ali clung to Ayesha's arm. Ayesha stared at the ceiling. If I were stronger, if I were richer. Guilt wrapped around her like chains. Mothers blame themselves even when the world is at fault. The next day at work, exhaustion finally won. Ayesha's vision blurred. Her hands slowed. The supervisor yelled, "You're useless today." Something inside her snapped. "I'm human," she whispered. He laughed. "Not here." That was it. She walked out. No wages, no job. Just tears burning her eyes. That evening, Ayesha sat beside her sleeping children. Fear returned. The same fear she felt the night she was thrown out, but this time, something else was there to anger. Not the loud kind, the quiet kind that builds strength. Ayesha wiped her tears. "I will not let this world break me," she whispered. "If it won't give me dignity, I will build it myself." She didn't know how, but she knew one thing. She had already survived what should have destroyed her. The morning after she left the factory, Ayesha woke up with swollen eyes and an empty heart. No job, no savings. 2 children sleeping beside her. She sat quietly for a long time, listening to their breathing. "If I don't stand up today," she thought, "we won't survive tomorrow." She remembered the stitching work Fatima had once given her. Her hands were skilled. Her spirit was tired but not dead. That day she borrowed an old sewing machine from a neighbor. No shop, no customers. Just hope stitched with fear. Ayesha went door to door. Again, not asking for food this time, asking for work. "Clothes stitching," she said softly. "Anything. I'll do it cheap." Most refused. One woman finally agreed. "Just one suit," she said doubtfully. That one suit felt heavier than gold. Ayesha stitched all night. Her fingers ached. Her eyes burned when she handed over the dress. The woman nodded. "It's good." Those 2 words felt like oxygen. That evening, Ayesha bought bread with her own money. She placed it in front of her children. "Ami earned this," she said quietly. Sarah smiled, not because of the food but because of pride. Ollie laughed. Crumbs on his face. Ayesha watched them eat and finally allowed herself a small piece. It tasted different. It tasted like dignity. As days passed, small work turned into regular orders, but whispers followed. "A woman alone. Where is her husband? Too independent." Ayesha heard everything. She didn't reply because survival leaves no energy for arguments. One evening, while returning late, she noticed someone following her. Her heart pounded. She held her bag tightly and walked faster. When she reached Fatima's house, her legs shook. That night, she didn't sleep. She held her children close, realizing something painful. The world was not safe for a woman alone. The next morning, Sarah said something unexpected. "Ami, when I grow up, I'll work too, so you don't get tired." Ayesha felt tears rise. Children should dream of toys, not responsibility. She hugged Sarah tightly. "You just study," she whispered. "That's your job." A month later, the landlord came. "Rent," he said coldly. Ayesha didn't have enough. She begged for time. He refused. That night, Ayesha made the hardest decision of her life. She sold her wedding ring, the ring that once symbolized promises. Promises that were already broken. As she handed it over, she felt nothing. Pain had already taught her how to let go. With that money, Ayesha rented a tiny room, cracked walls, one window, but it was hers. No shouting, no insults. Just peace. That night, she cooked a simple meal. They sat on the floor and ate together. Ollie fell asleep in her lap. Sarah leaned against her shoulder. Ayesha closed her eyes for the first time in months. She felt safe. She knew life was still hard. Poverty hadn't left. Pain still lived inside her, but something had changed. She was no longer begging life to spare her. She was fighting back. One morning, Sarah came running. "Amy, the neighbors said there's a government school nearby." Ayesha's heart skipped. School meant books, uniforms, fees. It also meant a future. That day, she held her children's hands and walked to the school. The building was old. Paint peeled off the walls, but to Ayesha, it looked like a palace. The teacher looked at the children kindly. "They can join," she said. "Fees are minimal." Ayesha thanked her with folded hands. That night, she stitched late to buy notebooks. She couldn't buy new bags, so she washed old ones and repaired the straps. When Sarah put it on, her eyes shone. "I look like a student." She laughed. Ayesha turned away so her tears wouldn't show. Work increased, so did exhaustion. Ayesha's hands trembled more often now. Her back hurt constantly. Sometimes her chest felt heavy, but she ignored it. Illness is a luxury for the poor. One afternoon, while stitching, her vision went dark for a second. She grabbed the table, breathed slowly, continued because rent didn't wait for health. Sarah began helping with chores. Ali learned to stay quiet. Too quiet. One night, Ayesha overheard him whisper, "Amy works too much." Those words hurt more than pain in her bones. She kissed his forehead while he slept. "I'm doing this for you," she whispered one evening. As Ayesha returned from buying groceries, she froze. Across the street stood a familiar figure. Her husband, older, colder, unchanged. Her heart raced. He looked at her clothes, the bag in her hand. "So, this is your life now?" he asked mockingly. Ayesha said nothing. He smirked. "Heard the kids go to school." That sentence terrified her. "You have no right," she said quietly. He shrugged. "They're my children too." Her hands shook. "Not from fear, from rage. You lost that right the night you threw us out," she said. People stared. He laughed softly. "Careful, the law listens to fathers." That night, Ayesha couldn't sleep. Fear wrapped around her chest. What if he tried to take the children? What if the world believed him? Days later, Ayesha collapsed again. This time, it was worse. Fatima rushed her to a clinic. The doctor spoke gently. "You're severely weak. You need rest." Ayesha smiled faintly. "Who will earn?" The doctor didn't answer because there was none. That night, Sarah sat beside her mother. "Amy, if I stop going to school, will you rest?" Ayesha felt her heart shatter. "No," she said firmly. "You will never stop." She pulled Sarah close. "If I ever fall, you stand taller." Sarah cried quietly into her shoulder. Ayesha knew something had to change. She couldn't fight forever with a breaking body, but she also knew this. Even if her strength failed, her purpose never would. She held her children close and whispered, "No matter what happens to me, you will study, you will rise." The night listened and stayed silent. The letter arrived on a dusty afternoon. Ayesha opened it with shaking hands. Her heart sank. It was a legal notice. Her husband was demanding custody of the children. Sarah watched her mother's face turn pale. "Amy, what is it?" Ayesha folded the paper slowly. "Nothing," she lied softly. "Just work stuff." But that night, she didn't sleep because the fear was real. Now, not hunger, not illness. Losing her children. The day of the hearing, Ayesha wore her simplest clothes, clean, neat, honest. Her husband stood confident, well-dressed. His lawyer spoke loudly. "She is poor. She is weak. She cannot provide." Each word hit like a slap. When Ayesha was asked to speak, her voice trembled. "I may be poor," she said softly, "but I never abandoned my children." Silence filled the room. She showed school records, medical slips, rent receipts, proof built with pain, proof written with sacrifice. The judge listened carefully. The decision was postponed. More waiting, more fear. That night, Ayesha collapsed again. This time she didn't wake up quickly. Sarah screamed. Ali cried uncontrollably. Fatima rushed them to the hospital. Doctors worked quietly. Sarah sat outside, holding Ollie. "Army won't leave us," she whispered again and again. When Ayesha woke up, the doctor spoke gently. "You must stop working for some time." Ayesha closed her eyes. Stopping meant no money. No money meant no fight in court. That night, she made the cruelest decision of her life. She sent Sarah to work part-time after school, just helping at a small shop, not because she wanted to, because she had no choice. When Sarah agreed silently, Ayesha turned away and cried. A mother's heart should never make such choices. Sarah never complained. She studied at night, worked quietly. Ollie hugged his sister more now. The house felt heavier. Dreams grew quieter. On the last hearing day, Ayesha stood again. Weak, but unbroken. The judge spoke slowly. "The children will remain with the mother." Ayesha felt her knees give way. Tears fell freely for the first time. The world chose justice. Her husband walked away without looking back. Just like before, Outside the court, Ayesha collapsed into Fatima's arms, not from weakness, from release. The fight was over, but the damage remained that night. Ayesha held Sarah close. "I'm sorry," she whispered, "for making you grow up so fast." Sarah shook her head. "You didn't leave us," she said. "That's enough." Ayesha cried until morning. After the court case, life slowed down, not because things became easy, but because Ayesha's body could no longer keep up. She was tired all the time now. Even small tasks left her breathless. Fatima insisted on proper tests. When the doctor spoke, his voice was careful. "Her body is extremely weak. Years of stress, hunger, overwork." He paused. "She needs rest, long-term care." Ayesha nodded calmly. She had known for a long time. Mothers always know. Ayesha didn't tell the children everything. She still woke up early, still cooked simple meals, still smiled when they came home from school. But at night, when the lights were off, she pressed her hand against her chest and prayed silently. "Just let me stay long enough," she whispered, "to see them stand on their own feet." Sarah grew into a quiet strength. She studied harder than anyone. Teachers noticed. One day, Sarah came running home. "Ami, I got first position." Ayesha held the paper with shaking hands. Tears fell onto the page. Ollie hugged her waist. "You did it because Ami worked," he said proudly. Ayesha closed her eyes. Her heart felt full. One evening, Ayesha called her children close. Her voice was gentle, but serious. "Listen to me," she said softly. "No matter how hard life becomes," she held their hands, "never abandon the one who stands by you. Never forget, sacrifice, and never look down on the weak." Sarah nodded through tears. Ollie hugged her tightly. "We won't leave you," he said. Ayesha smiled. "I know," she whispered. Time passed. One peaceful night, Ayesha lay down after evening prayer. Sarah adjusted her pillow. Ollie held her hand. She looked at their faces for a long time, not with fear, with peace. Her lips moved softly. "Allah, I leave them with you." Her breathing slowed. The room fell silent. The world didn't stop, but two lives moved forward because of her years. Later, Sarah stood on a small stage, holding a certificate. Ollie sat in the front row, clapping loudly. Sarah spoke with a steady voice. "My mother was thrown out with 2 children, but she never threw away her courage." The room was silent. "She taught us that love is louder than cruelty, and sacrifice is stronger than poverty." Ali wiped his eyes. Ayesha left no wealth, no house, no name in newspapers. She left something greater. Courage, character, children who knew the value of love. She was thrown out with 2 children, but she walked out carrying a future.